And look, if you want to feel really good about the time that we're in right now, I know things seem dire, but just look at the history of the 1300s. I hate to say it, I don't even know if I really want to get back into it. Welcome to the vlog in which I read some fantasies. There are two books that I am going to be reading, and both of them are rather long, and both of them are great fantasies. I drew Between Two Fires in my February TBR. I'd love to vlog this experience. This one is so highly rated on Reddit. It has an insane amount of readership, and I had never heard of it. One of my favorites from last year, Once Was Willem, is blurbed by this author. And I loved Once Was William. So I'm hoping for similar, samey kind of vibes and just like blow me away kind of creative writing. This is a medieval horror fantasy centered around kind of Black Death era, 14th century-esque. We're following three characters, and I'll get more into that when we get there. First, though, we are starting with The Strength of the Few. This is a sequel, so I'm going to try my best to talk about it in as sort of ambiguous terms. I've been avoiding everybody else's reviews of it because I just don't want to spoil myself. The first book is about a boy who is an orphan and he gets adopted by this high up dude, and he then gets tasked with entering this elite academy in which you have to move up a hierarchy. There are two books that this one reminds me of because there is a magic system idea of will that I think needs to be explored a little bit more, in that you can use other people's will for magic. It reminds me of this book. The idea of this kind of magic was really cool. It also reminded me of Ender's Game because there's like a sequence in the first book where they're having to kind of play these almost war games with each other, live chess in 4 dimensions, kind of like it's really cool. Last book ended with a bit of a cliffhanger that was so insane that I had to read it twice to see if I actually understood what was happening, and I did in fact understand what was happening. It was just that bizarre. And thinking about it, it reminds me a lot of Mark Lawrence and his writing, how he likes to add these really unusual, almost science fiction elements to the fantasy, where you've got a fantastical world, but there's a futuresque sort of science-y bent to it. So I began this one, and I'm already lost. I read The Will of the Many December 2024, and this is now January 2026. And my brain has lost all of those Romanesque inspired names. Reading it has been a bit of a challenge in that trying to decipher who is who, and I've got this like half remembered sense of what was happening, and I think this probably would have been better to read back to back. So we're going to dive into that one, and we shall see how we do with my update. See that? Currently nap trapped, so this is a quick update. I am finally getting into The Strength of the Few, and the reason is I had to watch a bunch of reviews to reorient myself. And this is a
spoiler. So if you have not read The Will of the Many, I'm going to put spoiler here. At the end of The Will of the Many, Viz got copied. His character got copied 3 times. I did not understand that. I understood that he got copied, but I thought it was twice, not 3 times. So in this book, we are following him in 3 different spaces. Away from the spoilers, so I can talk about this kind of vaguely. We are following, this is the issue that I had with James Islington before, was that I felt like his main characters, I don't like them. They're too golden boy-ish, and I'm really struggling with the points of view in this book. They all seem sort of samey, which is odd because each POV is in like a different kind of a space, but they're not as defined for me. One is sort of an Egyptian one is the following Viz, our main character, in the Roman-esque type place. And then from what I'm gathering, the third one is kind of Irish. There's a lot of references to druids and stuff. So, at the historical buff in me, I've got a couple little alarm bells ringing and red flags of that Islington based his ideas off of historical ideas, but didn't verify. I'm struggling a little bit because I know it's fantasy. I know it is. It's not based on reality. It's not based on history. But there are some not historical facts in here that I'm kind of like, oh, okay, I'll just let that one go. So it's sort of so far, and I'm really struggling to get into it. I'm not that far in. I'm really struggling.
I'm going to soft DNF Strength of the Few, and I feel really bad about this, but I ran out of time reading it from the library. They only give you 21 days, which seems like a lot, but if you have kids, it's not a lot. I desperately need to have a good 2 months with this book, so I have put myself back on the waiting list. It's like an 18-week wait, so I'll give you an update when I get there. I was struggling so hard with it. Everything was blurring together, and I really couldn't handle the similar POVs. I hate to say it, I don't even know if I really want to get back into it. That's where I'm at right now. I am currently reading Between Two Fires, and it is so much better and so much more engaging that I almost don't want to make it worth my time. Like, I just don't want to return to it. And that sounds really harsh, but at this point, I don't have the time for low quality storytelling. I'm sorry, but. And I found this with his other book too. I did really like The Will of the Many. The thing about him is he has really great ideas, but I find his characters to be somewhat stereotypical fantasy wise. Like, I've read his character before, and I need a fresh character. This golden boy is old. It's the same character of Darrow, in Red Rising. It's the same character in the David Eddings books. Like, this is the same character. I'm just reading the same young male. And I need something new. So, soft DNF, maybe forever. Who knows? I'll wait till my hold comes in, and then I'll try it again. But I got about 20% in, which for a 700-page book is quite a lot. Speaking of Between Two Fires, I'm going to fire you over to that side, and we'll update you there. and it's a wonderful book. The first 50 pages have already flown by. When I tell you that it took me 4 times as long to read the first 50 pages of The Strength of the Few, and then basically an afternoon to read 50 pages of Between Two Fires. I mean, that's a stark difference right there. I had jaw dropping moments where I was not expecting things. Now, there are a few weird editing things, and I'm not sure if that's just like the publisher or the style of the writing, but there are a few phrases that I'm kind of like, okay, whatever, right? But like, that doesn't matter because the story in itself is fabulous. So we start with, I was wondering how the author was going to integrate 3 different POVs. And he's done a fantastic job already. So he starts with the knight, and the knight is wandering about with a bunch of brigands. And they're sort of in this hellscape of a land. The plague has already ravaged everywhere, emptied out villages. People, there's like 1 or 2 people, 1 or 2 survivors even in each village. Then they decide to house in a barn, and this is like historically accurate. They needed to eat, so they killed a donkey. Unfortunately, that donkey belonged to this girl, well, her family, and her father has unfortunately succumbed to the Black Plague, and she approaches these men because she's been told by an angel to go check them out. And she goes and checks them out, and it is like kind of what you expect about medieval kind of thought, maybe about men, and they're just kind of animals at this point because they've been without normalcy and they've been running around and pilfering and robbing and just trying to survive on like grass. The knight, Thomas, kind of becomes this like gray character almost immediately. The girl is a bit of a mystery. I'm not quite sure what to make of her. We have yet to learn her name, which is fascinating because Thomas continually wants to call her girl. She's kind of been adopted as a bit of a pet. He says, "Oh, we'll take you to the next village and I'll drop you off. Once I find a bunch of convent of nuns, I'm just going to drop you off." And she sees angels, demons, we're not sure yet. And I've only just gotten to the part where they meet the priest. He's in this village where there's this monster, like a big gigantic eel, and the knight has been tasked to go and like attack this eel, and I've like stopped in the middle of this incredible crazy scene because I had to, I had to stop. But like already I'm gripped. This is like, I'm all in. I'm in. Been a week. Let me tell you. There is a yucky virus that is going on and around, and my kids had it like 2 weeks ago, and we thought we were out of the clear, and then we got it. And then there were some times when we had to keep my son at home from school, so reading is going pretty slowly. However, I have just made it to the halfway point. This book is for me. This is like, if you really enjoy Richard Swan's like dark eldritch horror, you're going to really love this type of writing. It also reminds me a lot of Charles Williams, but less on the theological side and more so on the fantastical angels and demons side. Our 3 main characters At first, they were going to go to Paris, and now they're going somewhere else. The girl is being commanded to go different places. Not sure where the directionality is going. Seems more on the side of a milieu type of book where the characters are revealing a little bit about themselves as we go from town to town. Every single town seems to be corrupt in some sort of way. And we just finished an incredible scene where there were literal demons and angels fighting. They were gigantic. It was so cool. We are getting these hallucinations from all parties. So the knight has these really vivid, nightmarish kind of dreams where he's being manipulated into doing things. Same thing with the priest. The priest is being tempted with all of his vices, and the girl seems to question about whether or not she's got angels or demons talking to her. For the most part, I think it's angels. This is written in a brutal sort of a way. This is a brutal time period. And look, if you want to feel really good about the time that we're in right now, I know things seem dire, but just look at the history of the 1300s, and you've got famine and war and revolts and terrible leadership. Like, it's just like absolutely awful. If you want to feel a little bit better about what's going on, just go delve into that. I've also reignited my interest in the Black Plague, so I've been listening Black Plague, the Black Death. So I've been listening to like a ton of history podcasts on the Black Death, and I'm just really enjoying myself with this one. Well, I finished it. Easiest 5 stars I think I'm going to give this year. This is incredible. This hit all of the things that I wanted to hit. It is exactly what I wanted and surprised me a little bit. This challenges the way that fantasies can be told. There is a dream-like quality to this. There are sequences that make you question reality about whether or not this is actually happening to the character, and I loved it because this is ultimately sort of an exploration of man going through the worst of it, aka the Black Plague, and think they're coming on the outside of it only to be threatened and tempted by demons on Earth. These are sort of more biblical-esque type demons in the interpretation of they might have been in the Middle Ages. There was a very visceral feeling that God had abandoned humanity. You can feel this palpably. Like, yes, this is fantasy, but it is based and rooted in such rich historical feeling and emotion. Boomel, Belmel, Christopher manages to encapsulate that completely, and just, there's so much good going on with this. Now, for those of you who like medieval history, this is what you're gonna get. However, there is definitely a horror bent. Like, if I read about somebody's limbs being torn off in a very descriptive manner, then yeah, we are in a we are in a whole other ball game. I really enjoyed how raw this was, with the characters just feeling these incredibly human emotions but completely stripped of what they felt. The girl becomes sort of more than what she is, and there's kind of like a hint as to whether or not she's an angel. I'm going to recommend some other authors because this is kind of how I felt about this one. So I read a long time ago a book called Lent by Jo Walton. This one has stuck with me. You're wanting something historical
with demons, that is what you're going to get. Demons like that you look at when you look at a manuscript, a medieval manuscript, and you see those kinds of demons, that's what you're going to get in Lent. I also want to recommend the Red Knight. These two are very different prose wise and yet so similar in themes and presentation. I think this is like the Red Knight, but with fewer characters. So this is like focusing on 3 characters. This is focusing on like 30. So if you enjoy the Red Knight, this one, or likewise, and also I'm never going to stop recommending the Justice of Kings. This transforms, it begins as a very dark mystery fantasy series and it transforms into a fantasy horror. And so you're going to get that eldritch kind of reality ripping demons, creatures that don't look like they should coming into the world. That's exactly what you're getting in this one. So if you like this one, you're going to like this one. If you like this one, you're going to like this one. I am now on the hunt for more fantasy horror because apparently that's what I like right now. As for the strength of the few, because I'm on such a long wait list, I'm going to end the vlog here. There's no need to draw it out any further. So we're going to end it there. One with a disappointed soft DNF and one with an absolute new favorite. Thank you so much for watching this vlog that turned out exactly like I expected and not exactly like I expected. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you again soon. Bye.